Dr. Zaghloul, we spoke about the expansion of the universe, the Big Bang, the Big Crunch, and today we're going to speak about the stages of creation. Does the expansion and do they come in the stages of creation?
I begin by thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our creator, the creator of this universe and everything that's in it, the one and the only one supreme power in that universe, seeking his blessings and mercy on Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the seal of that long chain of prophets and messengers sent by God for the guidance of man, sent by Allah for the guidance of man. And I greet you all in our Islamic way and your viewers. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah's peace, blessings and mercy be with you all. As we mentioned earlier several times, the Holy Quran is the only form of divine guidance within the hands of man today that has been kept intact in exactly the same language of revelation, the Arabic language, preserved by the will of Allah, word to word and letter to letter. Being with this quality, every single notion in it has to be absolutely correct. Every word, every letter, every verse, every surah, every chapter has to be absolutely correct. We also mentioned that the Holy Quran is basically a book of guidance to man in areas that cannot be correctly addressed by man, such as the area of faith, the area of acts of worshipping, the area of the moral code, and the area of the code of transactions with others. And these four basic areas are beyond the capacity of man to tailor any correct answer for himself. So these are the basic foundations of the Holy Quran and of every revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the guidance of man. Yet we find that the Holy Quran is containing an immense quantity of cosmic verses, verses that refer to the creation of the universe, to the successive stages in the embryologic development of man, notions of many phenomena, wind, clouds, running water, many plants and their products, many animals and their products. And one would wonder why these verses are contained in the Holy Quran. And as we mentioned before, these verses come in the context of testifying to the might, knowledge, and will of the Creator, to testify for the capacity of the Creator to annihilate his creation and resurrect it, to witness for the unity of the Creator, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created everything from the elementary particles to man in pairs, so that he and only he can remain in his initial unity above all his creation. We also said that these verses are an address to the people of our time who have been highly fascinated by science and technology, and that's why we tell them, if you don't believe in the Holy Quran, look at these scientific verses that cannot be refuted and cannot be produced by any other than Allah 14 centuries ago in a community that was completely illiterate. One of these verses is this verse in Surah Al-A'raf, which reads, Inna Rabbakumullah, verily your guardian Lord is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في ستة أيام, who has created both heavens and earth in 6 days. And here I'll stop before completing the verse, because these 6 days are not days like ours, because our days were only formulated after the earth was created and started to revolve around its own axis in front of the sun. So these are successive stages, 6 successive stages. And I can analyze these stages into the following. The initial singularity, or Yawm al-Ratq, when everything was contained in initial body. Then the Big Bang, the explosion of this and the change of that initial singularity into a cloud of smoke, and I call it Yawm al-Dukhan. And then the Yawm al-Ityan, when Allah has ordered both the earth and the firmaments to come out of that smoke, willingly or unwillingly, and they said we will come in willing obedience, Yawm al-Dukhan, Yawm al-Ityan. And after that we have يوم إرساء الجبال, when Allah started creating mountains on the surface of that planet so that it can be a stabilizing medium for the whole planet as well as for the continental masses that were created on it. And then 2 days for the creation of plants, animals, and humans. So these are the 6 stages, 6 stages of creation of the universe, and particularly of our Earth.
This is agreed upon?
No, not agreed upon. This is my own analysis.
Okay.
And I assume that, of course, either you can modify or add to it or play
But
with.
this is your understanding of
But
the
I got
stage.
that from the Quran.
Yes. Okay.
I got that from the Quran. We have the initial singularity stage, يوم الرتق. Then the Big Bang, يوم الفتق. Because al-fatq is the opposite of al-ratq, you see.
Yes.
And then يوم الدخان, the day of smoke, from which Allah has created everything. يوم الإتيان, when Allah has ordered the earth and the firmaments to come into being, they came into being. And يوم الجبال, the day when mountains were created on our planet, and probably something happened similar in other heavenly bodies. And يوم المباركة والخلق, the day of creation.
So human beings come in the final stage.
Oh, at the very end.
Yeah.
The oldest record of life on Earth goes back to 3.8 billion years.
Wow.
And the oldest record of man on Earth does not exceed 100,000 years.
Okay.
So we came at the very end.
Okay.
So when Allah says, إن ربكم الله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في 6 أيام, your guardian Lord is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has created the firmaments and the earth in 6 days, means in 6 successive stages.
Okay.
ثم استوى على العرش. Then he settled himself on the throne. The throne is unknown to us. You see, the settlement is a settlement that suits the glory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because as we said earlier, Allah, who has created this vast, immense, orderly universe, he created both space and time, so neither space nor time can delimit his identity. He has created both matter and energy, so neither matter nor energy can shape that identity. So we don't know the identity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We know some of his qualities. And that's why Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is quoted to have said, تفكروا في صفات الله ولا تفكروا في ذاته فتهلكوا. Ponder about the qualities of Allah, but never try to ponder on his identity, because this can lead you astray.
But the Arabic word yawm or ayyam is translated in English, for example, to be days.
Days, yes.
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 But is there proof from the Arabic language that yawm or ayyam could be periods also?
Oh yes, in the Arabic language, yes. It means a phase or a period. If you say Yawmullah, the day of Allah, you see, it's a phase, not necessarily a particular earthly day. So in Arabic, Yawm can be used to mean a phase or a stage or a period of time. Yeah.
Because when someone reading the English Quran and he sees days,
yes,
then he might say in 6 days. And my question also, some might argue to say that, okay, if your Allah can create anything, be and it is, how come he took 6 days?
Yes,
Yes,
this is
a
an
very
argument
good question.
always
very good
there.
question.
People always
a very good
talk
question.
about this.
You see, definitely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is capable of ordering things to be, and it will be. No doubt about that. As Muslims, we believe in the supreme power of the Creator. And إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون. In the Quran, says that his order to anything to be is be, and it will be. Yet the creation has taken stages. Why? So that Allah can give us, we humans, the chance to ponder about the creation and understand the laws of creation and understand the wisdom of creation. If things just happened between the order be and it will be, we could have never understood anything, you see. So the creation in successive stages, whether this is the creation of the universe, the creation of life, or the creation of man, is only a way to show man the wisdom of Allah in his creation, and to give man the tools to understand the laws Allah has placed in that universe, so that he can apply these laws for the betterment of life on the surface of that planet.
and follow the system that he has put.
Yes, Follow the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Subhanahu wa ta'ala.
So the verse goes on. The most striking point in the verse is still coming. We have not reached that yet. It says, إن ربكم الله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في ستة أيام ثم استوى على العرش. Your guardian Lord is Allah, who has created heavens and earth in 6 days. And we said these are 6 stages, 6 successive stages of creation. في ستة أيام ثم استوى على العرش. He settled himself on the throne in a manner that suits his glory. We cannot identify it. We cannot describe it. We don't know where the throne is. But it has to be beyond that universe, above that universe. Even astronomers today say that this wonderful universe we are living in must have a point of reference that lays outside it. And we as Muslims say it's Allah, the Creator. Yeah, He is above that universe. You see, above the throne, where is the throne? We don't know. It's unknown to us. We cannot describe it. But Allah has settled Himself on the throne in a manner that suits His glory, and in a manner that cannot be perceived by the human intellect. The most striking fact in this verse comes later. It says, يُغْشِي اللَّيْلَ النَّهَارَ يَطْلُبُهُ حَثِيثًا. Allah makes the night to follow the day as a veil, as a hiding cover, swiftly, quickly, very fastly. يُغْشِي اللَّيْلَ النَّهَارَ يَطْلُبُهُ حَثِيثًا. It's really amazing. The verses that speak about the following of the day and night are numerous in the Holy Quran. And the only instance where the Quran says that the night and the day were following each other swiftly is this verse. Why? Because this was at the moment of the creation. And scientists could not understand this. If the night follows the day or the day follows the night swiftly, this means that the rate of revolution of the earth around its own axis must be much faster than the present day rate.
Yes.
And actually this has been proved very recently by a very detailed scientific research, which I will explain to you in the
After
coming
the
few
break,
moments, inshallah.
we'll continue
Yes.
after the break.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr.
Yes.
Zaghloul.
Barakallah feek.
Please be with us after the break. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Dear viewers, welcome back. Dr. Zaghloul, we want to continue. You were explaining to us why the day follows the night.
In a swift manner,
Yeah.
in a quick manner. You see, as I said earlier, the verses that speak about the succession of day and night
Yes.
in the Holy Quran are many. The only case or the only instance in which it was mentioned that the night and the day follow each other in a swift manner is this verse. Why? Because this is describing the very early stages of creation of the universe. إن ربكم الله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في ستة أيام. This is the phase, the early phase of the creation of heavens and earth.
Yes.
Recently, scientists came to understand that paleoclimatic conditions, all the climatic conditions, are recorded in the bodies of plants and animals. So if I get a tree stem and make a cross-section in it, I will see the successive stages of growth in what we call the annular rings. And in the early days, they thought that each ring would represent a year. And they could count the age of a plant, of a tree, by counting the annular rings
Yes.
in its stem. With greater magnifications, scientists came to realize that each ring contains hundreds of other lines. And they wondered, what are these lines? After a detailed analysis, they came to realize that these lines represent the 4 seasons of the year:
SubhanAllah.
autumn, summer,
Spring.
spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And they saw in these lines the 12 lunar months of the year. And they saw in these lunar months the weeks of each month, the days of each week, and the night and the day. when they were doing this, they were doing it with the objective that if they find that the spring ring, for example, was thick, this means that the spring was rich in sunshine and in rain.
Yes.
If the spring ring is narrow, this means that it was poor in sunshine and in rain. And they were doing this to try to
increase the harvest, or
no, trying to anticipate future climatic conditions. If we understand the rhythm of a change of climate in the past, we can anticipate
Forecast
how
like
the future will be.
like a forecast.
Because this goes into cycles, actually.
Yes.
Into cycles. So they were doing this really on a large scale in many universities. But when they were doing this, they started to find out that the older the annual ring, the more days in it.
The more days it
The
has.
more days in it. And they wondered, why? Why more days? And the answer was the speed of rotation of the Earth around its own axis was much quicker than today. This means that the rate of revolution of the Earth around its own axis is slowing with time. And they were advised to look for fossils, because fossils can go back
They're very
to
old.
thousands of millions of years.
Years ago, yes.
And when they found something like coral reefs, and the coral reefs grow like a tree, with rings around, you see, as the reef grows, it grows in rings as well.
Under the sea.
And they, for their surprise, they found that in the early days of the creation of the Earth, the speed of revolution of the Earth around its own axis was at least 6 times quicker than the present-day rate of revolution. And they came to realize that the number of days at the moment of the creation of the Earth exceeded 2,200 days per year. 2,200 days per year. And the length of the day and night together were less than 4 hours. And it came to this observation, developed a new branch of science called dendrochronology. And dendron in Latin means tree, and chronos means time, delimiting the time by the trees, by studying trees stems.
Jesus' life.
And dendrochronology has proved this fact, that the rate of revolution of the Earth around its own axis at the moment of the creation of the Earth was much quicker than the present-day rate. And this is slowing gradually with time. And scientists wanted to anticipate what will result for that slowing of the rate of revolution of the Earth around its own axis with time. What will happen in the future? They said the Earth slows in its rate of revolution a fraction of a second every 100 years.
Okay.
And they started looking what will happen in the future. They said the moment will come when the Earth has to change its direction of revolution. Today the Earth rotates from west to east. And that's why the sun seems rising from east and setting in the west. If this direction is reversed, the sun will rise from the west.
Oh.
And this is one of the signs of Akhirah, as prophesied by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he is quoted to have said that أول العلامات ظهورا طلوع الشمس من مغربها أو الدابة تكلم الناس ضحى. The first sign of Akhirah is the rising of the sun from the west, or the dabba, a form of a cattle that will speak to people in a clear-cut language, in a plain language, you see, warning them of Akhirah. And when the very first sign of Akhirah is seen by man, the door of forgiveness is locked.
Yes.
No forgiveness can be accepted
but
after that.
The revolution of the Earth is decreasing every single year.
Yes.
There would be a point where it would stop,
Yes.
and then it would go back.
Change, yeah, it changes
And just like the big crunch as we were speaking would happen faster, I think this will happen faster also, because the return of revolution in the opposite direction.
Yes.
Would it be fast also?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
The same.
But this will be in Akhirah, and everything will be finished.
Yeah.
We will not watch it. We will not witness it.
I just want to go back to the climate thing that we were talking about.
Yes.
You said that in the plant, in the tree, we can scientists can tell and predict about how the weather, how the climate will be in
Yes.
the future.
Yes.
So as we can say that, history repeats itself. As we say that, we say climate repeats itself
Yes,
as well.
yes.
Oh.
Actually, climate goes into cycles. You see, for example, one of these cycles is what we call glaciation or glacial periods. Glacial periods, we find that the snow creeps from one of the poles of the Earth towards the equator,
Right.
or from both poles sometimes. Why, we don't know. Probably because the Earth comes in a particular position that would diminish the amount of energy of the sun coming to the Earth. And that's why we find a glacial creep. Ice starts to creep from one of the poles towards the equator. And as this happens, we'll have ice deserts or glacial deserts in the northern hemisphere, and the desert belt extending from Mauritania to Central Asia, which is now one of the most arid regions of the Earth, will change into a heavily rainy period.
Oh.
And of course, this has been going on into cycles. Glacial, interglacial, glacial, interglacial phases all the time. And of course, climate goes also in cycles. To prove to man that our existence in that universe is not chaotic, it goes according to certain plans that can be predicted, that can be followed, that can be anticipated.
Doctor, these researches, how long ago?
What?
The research about the plant and the...
Oh, this goes back to 25, 30 years only, this dendrochronology as a new branch of science. It does not go back to more than 25, 30 years.
And they succeeded in predicting the weather?
They are still predicting the weather through it, yes.
Through this method?
Through
Through this method, they're
this
predicting the
method,
weather?
yes. But the fascinating thing is that this newly established branch of knowledge can prove a fact revealed in the Holy Quran 14 centuries ago, that the rate of revolution of the Earth around its own axis was much quicker, much faster in the very early days of the creation, and it is decelerating throughout time at the rate of a fraction of a second every
100 years.
100 years.
Every 100 years.
And this is a fact beautifully spelled out in this verse. إن ربكم الله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في 6 أيام ثم استوى على العرش يغشي الليل النهار يطلبه حثيثا.
But doctor, any effects of the penetration of the ozone layer, like to the nowadays weather? Any major effects? I mean,
you see the what they call the ozone hole.
yes.
This is as a result of pollution created by man. And this is just a minor interruption of the rhythm Allah has established for our universe. So any corruption by man can be harmful to him, but of course it will not change the whole pattern.
Yes.
It can be just a drawback in a particular phase, in a particular time. And this is due to the pollution by man. And that's why the Quran says ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس. Corruption has appeared on land and in the sea due to what humans have done. ليذيقهم بعض الذي عملوا, so that Allah will punish them by their own bad deeds.
Yes.
So the ozone layer has been disrupted by the polluting gases, which they call chlorofluorocarbon gases,
yes.
which are used in refrigeration, in sprays, in many other ways of life.
It's a minor change.
Minor changes,
But
yes.
even this change serves the plant because it explains the
Oh, it will be,
verse
it
you
will
just
be
said.
recorded. It will be
Yes.
recorded.
Yeah.
Because, you see, this is again a very important point. If we know that minor climatic changes are recorded in the bodies of animals and plants, so our own deeds will be recorded in our bone system.
SubhanAllah.
And if I take a section in one of the vertebra of the vertebral column of a deceased person, I can see in it all his life history, all the moments of happiness and of sadness,
Wow.
all the moments of seriousness and of disruption, you see. So everything will be is recorded actually,
for
and
accountability.
will be exposed to you on the day of judgment,
Yeah.
and everyone will be given his own book. اقرأ كتابك كفى بنفسك اليوم عليك حسيبا. You read your own book. It will be enough that you will count your own deeds.
Yes.
But as Muslims, we believe in the stages. Allah created the universe in stages.
Yes.
But in the end of time, and would He destroy it in stages, or
No.
it would be a sudden?
No, sudden.
So we have to be prepared as Muslims
have to be
every
prepared,
single
definitely.
second of the day.
We have to be prepared.
And there is no scientific explanation when this destruction would happen.
It cannot be calculated because, as I said, the last hour has got its own laws, governed by the divine instruction. Be and it will be.
And it is far from scientific
It's far
law.
from scientific calculations. And when I wrote about these topics, you see, I received a fax from one of the scholars, Islamic scholars, saying that, does this mean that you can calculate akhirah, when it will happen? If the earth is slowing at the rate of a fraction of a second every 100 years, this means that you can calculate the moment when the sun will rise from the west? I said, no.
Yeah.
Because as the Quran says about akhirah, ثَقُلَتْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ لَا تَأْتِيكُمْ إِلَّا بَغْتَةً. The last hour will come suddenly. It will come really at a great suddenness, you see. It will strike everything. It will break the laws of this worldly life. And it has its own laws, its own particulars that are completely different from the laws that are governing our current or present day universe.
So we can't see any scientific signs. The only signs we were seeing what the Prophet ﷺ predicted.
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, no, as I said earlier, you see, out of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah has placed in that universe signs that testify for its ultimate destruction.
Okay.
And the fact that the sun is losing out of its own mass 4.6 million tons of matter in the form of energy, it testifies to any logical person that this sun is going to die out. It's going to fade, you see. It's going to finish. But when will it finish in Akhirah? By this rate of loss of matter and energy? No. It will finish by the divine decree, and it will come to an end.
We have come to the end of our episode of today. Thank you very much, Professor Zaghloul. Thank you, brothers. Thank you, viewers. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.